Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the English broadcast of the Chinese LPL. We're up to our second game here on the third day of our LPL coverage. I'm, of course, Max Atlas Anderson, joined by the wonderful Christopher Papa Smithy Smith. And our game coming up today between Starhorn Royal Club and Gamtee. Both of these teams looking for wins. Of course, the record for Starhorn going to be 2-4. And Gamtee picking up their first win last night in our first split series, hitting a 1-5 now.
Absolutely. We might start to see the value of momentum coming here. As you mentioned, there are two teams really struggling at the moment. But This is one series when I was reviewing for it, I thought this is definitely a series where both teams that we see tonight are really looking to take advantage of the long 44-game season the LPL has this year. Just because we've got Starhorn Royal Club. We cast them earlier this weekend against OMG. Looked a bit in disarray. And, of course, that lineup has had to change so much since we saw them in the World's Final just a few short months ago with Uzi leaving to OMG. They've got their sub-80 carry still running with them at the moment. That's, of course, HYY as Name still unavailable.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And they're just trying to really work out how to distribute those resources. Of course, Korn and Cola, their solo laners, we're trying to look for them to step up here to really try and take advantage of the extra farm, the extra pressure they're going to take because, of course, they don't have to build up that puppy, donate all those resources to that AD carry. And, of course, Insect's the new shot caller this season, losing both your star player and your shot caller, obviously a real big shot to Starhorn Royal Club. He's kind of flattered to deceive. We haven't seen quite the same decisive ganking and shot calling that we might have expected so far. But, again, only 6 games into the season for Starhorn. Still a lot of growing to do.
Yeah, and we'll see whether they can actually grow into those roles. And as you mentioned, it's going to be a lot on these solo laners. And we saw coming out of Gamtee in their win last night that Letme was really doing some work there from the top lane. And Leo, even though he might actually be a substitute in that mid lane role, is doing so well and has actually played for them this whole season.
And it's that Wombo combo we saw there in their win against Vici. It was that Rumble Jarvan was the early lock-in. Of course, Rumble Jarvan have a wonderful synergy. Once that Cataclysm comes down, you layer the Equalizer over it. It can be beautiful how much destruction it can cause. And then Xerath around the back, hitting that ultimate, which has been pretty much a razor-sharp skill shot all season in the LPL. The one thing I can say about Gamtee is they've struggled in the early game, and those games where they've gotten significantly far behind in the early game, they haven't been able to wrestle back into it. But in that one game against Vici, a lot of analysts spoke about how strong Gamtee is in the mid to late game rotations and team fighting, and they executed them beautifully. So a lot to work with there, but still a lot of learning to do moving up from the LSPL into the LPL this season.
Yeah, and we'll see whether Gamtee can weather the storm of the early game here that can especially be put on by Insect, who's, of course, known for that least in a lot of early game pressure junglers and can mix that one up. But we are going to hop straight into the champion select, and it's going to be Rengar taken off the board first up, followed by Lysandra and Cassidy. So those two, not quite that unheard of, but Rengar being taken off the board, sort of like that 4th level of jungler.
It's one that Insect has shown so much proficiency in. He loves that really aggressive build on Rengar. You know, the Yomu's Ghost Blade, at least getting a couple of Brutalizer items to really build up that early pressure. He played against OMG and kind of got picked upon just because he was looked at to initiated and kind of just died straight afterwards because he didn't have the burst to kill the front line, and he certainly wasn't built like a frontliner. So it's a comfort pick for him. And for a person who's kind of struggling to jump into his new role, getting them out of their comfort is a really smart adaptation by Gamtee.
Yeah, and speaking of smart adaptations by Gamtee, they're also going to ban away Zero's Thresh. And Zero sort of explained as Mad Life 2.0, very, very good on that Thresh, able to make those plays, hit those hooks that he needs to, although we have seen a couple that may have gone a little bit awry. But definitely a worthwhile ban.
And you have to think that Janna is going to be one of the most contested picks right here. Zero's Janna at Worlds was constantly singled out for players. He played wonderfully on that champion, and Janna is available. We see the last ban of Rumble coming out here.
So smart.
It makes sense, right? That's the trio. It's the Jarvan and the Rumble, and just having the Xerath on the end. They've left 2 of those up, so we could see a Jarvan first pick still here. But the priority has usually been on Janna, just because Janna can, of course, disengage Jarvan at least from that Cataclysm.
And they open themselves up to a little bit of punishment as well, because those other 2 picks can be instantly locked in as Cola's let... What? How does this happen? How does Cola get Gnar so often? In his wins that we did see, it was Cola picking that Gnar and just going to town on the enemy team. And we didn't even notice it, but of course, Starhorn Royal Club did, and they're going to lock that one in first up. Insect also going to take away that Janna. This is a huge draft already for Starhorn Royal Club, but Danger has locked away that Sivir, so high priority AD carry has been taken, but I don't think it's worth the nah.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. When you look down the bans, of course, the Thresh ban is very specific to this game. Rumble has been seeing more and more play getting through the ban picks. So it kind of makes sense that we have a few more of those highly contested picks available. But to value Jarvan over both Janna and Gnar, it's very interesting to me. I feel like Gamtee have given away too much to get just the one power pick. Sivir as well, arguably a very strong pick as well, but they've lost a lot to lock in this Jarvan.
Yeah, they have, and do have a hover of Insects Lee Sin, and HYY going to take away that Corki potentially here. Of course, in the games that Starhorn Royal Club were looking good, it was when HYY was on that comfort Corki pick.
Absolutely. It was that win over M3, who of course have gone on to win 4 games subsequently. So it was actually a powerful showing by SHRC when they picked up that early 2-0. HYY actually did look like a carry that game. We thought, okay, they don't have Name, they don't have Uzi, but HYY looked very solid, but he really struggled in the subsequent 4 games. So getting him on comfort, maybe that's the first step into letting him play himself back into the sort of form they'd be looking for from the AD carry position.
Yeah, we'll see whether he can do it, as we do have the hovers of LeBlanc and Maokai here. Of course, Leo very comfortable on that. LeBlanc has played it previously quite a lot. And Let Me looking to go on that super tank. So they have a lot of frontline lockdown, and they're relying on this Sivir LeBlanc potentially to get them through as far as damage is concerned.
I mean, it's interesting to me. I mean, we see the hover here over Xerath. You look down this Gamtee lineup, you're going to have a turbo Jarvan, a turbo Maokai. They're going to get onto whoever they choose to in a fight at very high speed and lock them down. So I'm actually a bit surprised to see the Xerath pick here, just because a Maokai moving at over 400 MS towards you can, of course, use that Twisted Advance, get on top of you, lower your damage. It's actually a very risky last pick here for Khorne. But it's that matchup we've actually seen quite a bit. On paper, you're like, okay, LeBlanc's going to get on top of you and destroy you. But if you can play safe enough, Khorne is at first known as being a safe laner with the Orianna picks that he's most known for. If you can stay back and farm, in the late game, they'll be able to poke down this very short range Gamtee team.
We'll see whether they do manage to actually get that poke on, because, of course, Xerath does have a lot of long range, so you can sort of think about it as being, you can farm from range, you can use that Arcano Pulse to really stop LeBlanc from being able to close that distance with the distortion. Of course, when you're in range of a distortion, life gets very, very hard as a Xerath or any other mid laner going against that champion. And Leo has shown that he can really put his foot down on that gas as far as that's concerned.
And the thing that you need as Xerath in that matchup is a bit of jungle pressure, not necessarily to gank for the lane, but to get down the advanced vision, just so there's no situations where you're looking to rotate as a Xerath and then get caught out by LeBlanc. Because LeBlanc's always going to be looking for that assassination potential. She's going to pick up, of course, the sweeping lens, try and clear out vision, and then get the pick on Xerath as he transitions. Of course, in the team fight, he's going to be, 1,000 range from his enemies? So it's a struggle.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do, but let's get into the game. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are onto the Rift with Gamtee taking on Starhorn Royal Club. Of course, Gamtee on our blue side, Starhorn Royal now wearing the red shorts as forecast. Janna gonna head down the mid lane, and the rest of the team of Starhorn Royal Club hanging around their red buff.
I see a very defensive setup so far by Royal. Not sure they're going to look for a late invade here, or they're really conscious of a Gamtee early invade. Yeah,
the counter invade potential coming through here. This is the first time we've actually seen defensive grouping coming through from any of these teams, and we'll see whether Starhorn Royal Club's gambit does pay off here. As, of course, we are going to have the saplings entering that brush first, so Let Me getting some forward vision through, but that ward is there. We'll see whether they can get anything going on.
Yeah, not unclear if they're looking for a lane swap potentially here at Gamtee, or whether they're just looking to invade and contest the buff. But everyone's feeling each other out, and I expect a quite slow pace to the start of this game, just because both teams who think, hey, we can pick up a pair of wins here if we really get our game going.
Yeah, that's true. And what do you think about this Nami pickup as well? Because we were talking about the fact that, there's only a couple of Nami players over in China, and Sync Dream, of course, being one of them. And Sivir Nami in this lane can put on a lot of pressure early on, but do you think it's enough against HYY on this Corki and, of course, Zero's Janna?
It's interesting because it feels more to me like a laning choice than necessarily a, they really need a disengaged choice. Usually you see Nami against, the assassins of the world, the hard engaged, and of course Cola will provide that to a great degree on the Gnar, specifically with the Mega Gnar transform, but it's not really a necessary Nami pick. But in lane, Nami does very, very well against Janna.
We'll We'll see whether that does work out, as Gromp is going to be helped out here, and the Krug's going to be taken on the other side of the map for danger. Insec heading over right now, just going to safeguard himself up against this blue Sentinel, and in the mid lane, there is just the face-off.
So we do see the 2v2 traditional lanes right here. Probably going to see a lot of pushing coming out of Sivir here just to get that level 2 advantage. Of course, having a level disadvantage as a Sivir is always hard if you're pushed up. And wanting to push in that Corki and make sure that he's using his mana on creeps, not so much using it for the harass.
Yeah, we see the Ricochet has been leveled up here first by Tail, so you're going to have a lot more pushing power in this lane than you would if you picked up any other one of those spells. Sync Dream, nice little ebb and flow to get a lot of damage onto Zero, already at half health.
And just early trading, of course, lots of potions available for regen in the bottom lane here. Not going to enjoy too many big thoughts about it. And up top here, Cole is going to put down the early ward.
Early ward, going to transform into Mega Gnar on his way through as well. Welcome, Giant Dinosaur. He's going to be heading back to lane, continue farming this one up. And Let Me on this Maokai, of course, very tanky, but has taken a lot of damage and harass from this mini Gnar that just has so much harass and annoyance at his disposal early on. As Insect going to take down that blue buff, red buff, sorry. And Danger going to head towards his blue and start that one up. So far, no fancy things going on as far as jungle movements are concerned. And both just trying to farm up to the point where they can get these ganks going on around level 3 and 4 once they get all their abilities.
And I find when I consider Gnar, I sometimes fall into the trap of always focusing on the Mega Gnar and the amount of team fight work he can do. And you forget the fact that in lane, he functions a lot like Teemo when he's in the mini Gnar form. Ranged auto attack, really harassing this tank here. Of course, Maokai does have good ranged wave clear, so he should be able to stay competitive in lane, but a lot of heavy harassment going to come down onto Let Me Heal.
Yeah, good example being displayed here by Kohler as well, as he throws that boomerang across Let Me. And HYY, as we mentioned, probably going to get that lane shoved into him quite considerably. Insect, about 400 health. He's going to head back to base after visiting this top side of the map, and Leo just trying to farm under tower and doing a decent job of it. And of course, only about 2 CS behind now at this stage, as he tries his best.
And we see HYY taking a bad trade in the bottom lane here. Is low on health, so going to have to be very careful right there. Be interesting to see where Insect ganks first. Of course, on his trademark Lee Sin here, worldwide renowned for his play on that champion. See if he can be able to put up some strong ganking pressures. That's been something he's struggled with so far in the LPL this season.
And look at Gamtee as well, recognizing the fact that HYY did go back and just shoving this wave out, making sure that he misses as much CS as possible, and Tail doing a good job farming out these waves. Now 35 to 18 there in the bottom lane. HYY just able to get a longsword for his trouble on that back. So things not going so well for Starhorn Royal Club's bottom lane early on.
Important to dwell on the fact that this is Corki that's behind the 17 CS there. Of course, Corki is a fantastically strong laning AD carry. He's known for his strong laning and strong mid-game transitions with the Trinity Force Sorceress Juice pickups. So to be that significantly far behind is a problem for HYY.
Certainly is. Pickaxe now being picked up from Tail. So we're going to have a lot more damage and a lot more ability to push out this wave as well, because that's something that Sivir really does love to be able to do. And once you get that extra AD, you can certainly just shove that wave in. Just takes about a ricochet and a boomerang blade, and then you're pretty much there. So no worries at all. They are going to take down the Krugs just for a little bit of extra free gold before they head back to lane. And Insect hanging around in the enemy jungle here, going to start this Gromp up as well, but Let Me might find him as Kohler's got that wave pushed a little bit in his favor, but Insect looks to be able to grab this one, and Let Me's just going to head back to lane.
A lot of people might wonder why we're seeing so much Sivir, and of course the team fight power of Sivir's ultimate is well known, but her laning is deceptively strong just because once you pick up that big flat AD purchase, whether it's the pickaxe or the BF sword, depending on how well you're doing at lane, you have instant wave clear, but also the ability to just be a standard AD carry and hold the wave. So if you want to push the lane into the enemy turret, you give your jungler so much extra information to be able to push and roam, but you also are able to hold that wave if you're really conscious of an enemy jungler gank. So it's so much flexibility, and then in team fights, she hits that go button and the team fights start.
Yep, the donkey whistle, as it were, as Insect going to take that Scuttle Crab and speed himself up here to the top side of the map, but Kohler has had this one shoved in, and Let Me's just doing his very best to farm underneath this turret and stay away from that Gnar harass that's coming through here. And letting this Gnar sort of do what he wants in the early games. Seeming dangerous here as a nice ricochet going to land on HYY, but no Acro Prism to come through from Sync Dream.
I guess the question is, in a free farm situation, who would you rather have in a team fight? Na with the team comp he has, or Maokai with the team comp he has? And I actually have to defy convention and go with Maokai here, just because with the Sivir engage, it's a really, really tanky Maokai is going to be a massive factor in team fights, as we see quite a bit of trading in the bottom lane.
Yeah, a lot of trading, no real kill potential being demonstrated down there. Of course, heals are available on both sides. And very low on mana is Tail here as well. We do have a teleport coming into the bottom side of the map, though. Insects here as well. It's 4 versus 2. Tail's going down solo, forced to pop that heal. But is it going to be enough as the boomerang comes through from Kohler? He's about to transform. The Gnar is available as well. Sync Dream's definitely dead, but they go for Tail. The wallop comes through, and that is a 2-0 in the bottom lane. Meanwhile, Leo gets a kill in mid.
Amazing teleport coming out from Kohler. You have to compliment the fact that he had just the correct amount of rage available there just to transform at this split-second moment. And this is why you remarked so strongly, cut me off even, with a moment that Kohler could lock in that Gnar, is that he is a wonderfully strong Gnar player, and Starhorn Royal Club are excellent at playing around the cooldowns on that champion.
Yeah, and it was a beautiful teleport, exactly the right time there as well. We expect teleports like this to come through from the likes of Amazing J and Flandre, these players that just really use that summoner spell well. And Kohler also with his amazing team fighting prowess, also using it to that great effect. It's terrifying to witness him playing so well. As Let Me going to start off this red buff steal, and Danger's here as well, but it's just going to be a trade.
And it's worth just looking at the teleport cooldowns to realize that Kohler was perfectly aware that Let Me use teleport to get back into lane, knowing he had that teleport advantage to coordinate all the variables there, wait for Sivir to push out that lane, and get a perfect gank down. Just wonderful team play from Starhorn Royal Club. This is what I want to see from them in the early game. This is sort of decisive play I expect with Insect.
Oh, the kick into Tail here as well, and there's the ultimate to come through. It's a nice spell shield to block one of them out, but the teleport to come through from Let Me does have that twisted advance. Zero very low on mana, but more of a defensive teleport than anything else, and Cole are going to be left alone in that top side of the map.
Yeah, Cole are going to be able to wrestle back some of that CS advantage that Let Me had managed to grow there. And that's the difference between the teleports. We have one fantastically strong teleport that led to 2 kills, and in this case, just a teleport wasted.
Yeah, wasted, but may have given up a couple of kills if it hadn't have come through. So defensive teleports need a mention, but so do Dragons. And we didn't even talk about the fact that Starhorn Royal Club managed to transition beautifully from that teleport into taking that first Dragon as well. So setting themselves up for a fantastic early start to this game. Yeah,
2 kills in a Dragon versus Xerath getting caught out in the transition to bot lane and a bit of CS in the top lane. It's a no contest, a massive win for Starhorn Royal Club.
It really is. It doesn't transition to much of a gold advantage. Of course, Dragon being a little bit deceptive on that front. And we have been talking about the fact that Gamtee really want to get to that late game stage where they can show us those rotations, so show us how strong they are as a team together. So we'll see whether they can get to that point without being too far behind. But at the moment, Starhorn Royal Club looking fantastic.
And just looking at the comp they've picked here, although we've talked about just how strong the tanks will be, getting into the fight with On the Hunt, it's important to note that compared to the comp they ran against Vici Gaming, where they had a lot of AoE coming out of Let Me's Rumble, this is more about the picks. We want to see, as we see Leo going very aggressive onto Insect, I think he's going to be able to get away. But we want to see Gamtee capitalize on warding here and get those picks. They have so many tools to get a pick on the enemy that they really need to get a pick before they go for an objective, rather than look for necessarily the straight 5-out-5 fights, just because they don't have AoE in the mid lane coming out of Leo. And Let Me, of course, is more known for his tanking rather than his damage on that Maokai.
Yeah, that is right. Speaking of damage rather than tanking, Kohler's picked up a Phage here when he first went back to base. Thought that longsword was going to be designed for the Hex Drinker, which it looks like he's going for next up, but this could be a more damage-focused Gnar up here in the top side of the map.
And we know that he's going to transition into tankiness eventually. It looks like he's going to go 2 damage items rather than maybe just the single Phage. So a bit more offensive flavor, just because that'll let the auto attacks hit that Maokai a bit more, ensure that when we get around to the team fights, Maokai's going to be that much less tanky when they have the dual teleports coming into a fight.
Yeah, it gives him a little bit more ability to be annoying in that mini Gnar form as well. Of course, that Phage working with that Hyper so well, as Tail with another very nice spell shield. He's definitely on the pulse of that one, being able to stop that Howling Gale. And Let Me, as we were talking about, I mean, Kohler just able to dominate this lane.
All right, we seem to be coming up to a pause here, so maybe not, just a bit of issues over on the Chinese client. I mean, the Phage is kind of standard for Gnar, just because it lets you orb walk, gets you those extra autos in, allows you to proc your W and get just that much more harass down. I mean, there could be a 6th item Trinity Force, but I'd be very surprised to see it earlier than that. The Hex Drinker is going to give them that little bit of magic damage to deal with a potential pick coming out of Maokai or LeBlanc, but some very good flexible item choices right there.
Yeah, we'll see whether they manage to make good use of them as we are back into this one. A little pause, not going to stop the onslaught of Mega Knight here in the top side of the map. Danger looking to get a gank underneath this turret, though, and there's the flag and drag coming through after the Gnar, which is definitely important. Cola now, he's just going to get cataclysmed up, and because he lost that flash on the bottom side of the map, GT definitely going to capitalize.
Felt like he was very aggressive with his positioning there, was Cola. He was in the Mega Gnar form. He wasn't realistically going to get much turret damage done. He just kind of overextended and paid for it with his life. You don't usually see kills like that in competitive play, but Danger was on point.
He certainly wasn't waiting at exactly the right point, and I think that Style Royal Club just lacking a little bit of that vision around the map as far as knowing where Danger is at these times, and paid for it, as you mentioned. And you can see, actually, Gamtee with some brilliant vision around this map. Lots of pink wards defensively and offensively, so they have the idea of where Insect's going to be, but Danger can go a little bit more unbeknownst to the enemy, but Insect not spotted right here.
He's looking to pick up that third red buff here. Has the rough timer, of course, and just looking at it. He's going to back out, though. That's pretty much the story across the map here. Despite a little bit of action in the early game, 200 gold lead, very similar CSs here. I mean, one member that we've kind of ignored is Tails, who, of course, has struggled a bit in the early game here, has the average played, is up in CS. Tails has been one of their primary carries throughout their run in the LSPL. Is a very hyped up-and-coming AD carry. Still has some things to work on to be a top 2 or top 3 AD carry in China, but has that potential. So it'll be interesting to see how she transitions into the late game here on Siva, who sometimes can have trouble with that kind of low range that she has with her autos.
Yeah, but it's going to be all about that on the hunt. That ultimate really going to be helping them out in these team fight situations. As Letme going to use that Vengeful Maelstrom just to get some farm here, as Danger's just going to flag and drag his way around, clear out some wards, which is very, very good. Made it very dark on that red side of the map for Gamtee, so Starhorn Royal Club not going to know what's going on at all when they did have a lot of vision in there.
We see that Lee Sin's coming back from base. Yeah, I expect Insect to start prepping for Dragon right now. We're about 20 seconds away from that objective. Definitely a different flavor from Vici Gaming, who of course love to, the Downey and Muscle love to prep for Dragon maybe a minute and a half before that objective.
Yeah.
They've taken the first Dragon here, but they don't really feel like they've got a vision stranglehold in the second. They might actually struggle here as we see Sync Dream and Danger come in aggressively.
Yeah, and HYY actually waiting in base for about 40 gold there to finish off that Trinity Force. Of course, needing that power spike, but it's going to delay him here towards this Dragon, which has just come back alive. Blue Sentinel also just coming onto the map as well. There is a pink ward in this brush, and Gamtee positioning ready for this one. Letme, his finger on that teleport button, going to head back to base, make sure he has as much item advantage as he possibly can for this next fight.
Yeah, we see Gnar is actually the person here holding on to the most gold with 900 gold. Probably going to watch the Rage bars here. Is almost full up on Rage, so won't have that transform available for a team fight. In general, Starhorn Royal Club, they need to prep their vision a bit stronger if they want to pick up this second Dragon.
Yeah, Righteous Glory also just finished up from Letme as well, so a lot of engaged potential coming through at this moment for Gamtee.
And it's definitely the team fight choice there. He's not going for the selfish Rod of Ages choice. He's going for the more mid-game focused item. Makes sense with a Civicom just because you're doubling down on movement speed. The amount of movement speed between Righteous Glory and On the Hunt will be unbelievable in team fights.
Oh, yeah. Cola just doing his best to try and build that Rage back up again. Chain's going to land on the Blue Sentinel. He's going to pick that one up as well, as we do have the rotation down towards that Dragon from Insect and Korn. They're actually going to start this one up as well because they have the vision advantage. Just getting a ward over the edge is Gamtee, but it's at half health now, this Dragon, and it seems like Gamtee may have had themselves caught, but they're teleporting to the backside of the map. It's actually going to go to Starhorn Royal Club, but Letme's in there with the twisting advance. But first, it's going to be Danger falling down to Cola. In the end, Leo does pick up Insect as well, so trading the junglers here as Ride of the Arcane does come through as well. Going to land on a tail, miss a little bit here. One last charge to come through, not going to do anything with it. And Korn just going to back off. Trading the junglers, but picking up another Dragon is Royal. And
it's worth noting there that Cola had absolutely no Rage available, so there was no Gnar transformation available for that fight. So to be able to secure the objective for Starhorn Royal Club and back away with an even trade, a nice victory for them in this early game stage.
Yeah, beautiful work, and picking up another Dragon, and most importantly, denying that first extra 6% damage stats from Gamtee. They're going to really have to try and posture for the next dragon because losing, just bleeding dragons like this can be horrible for your team.
Yeah, every second dragon almost feels like a prep for the next big one. Of course, the first one is lovely, then you really want the third for the movement speed, and then the fifth one is basically a free win button. So there's so many options there, and you just want to take the second one so you have the exact timers, you know when to prep for vision. It's important to note, though, Starhorn Royal Club, they were a bit... They did take a risky approach in not clearing out the vision for that second dragon there. They're going to have to be more on point if they want to secure the all-important third one.
We'll see whether they can do that, of course. Cola with a bit of an advantage in the top side of the map. 18 CS is the lead. 15 in the mid lane for Korn as well. So solo laners of Royal Club doing what we said they really need to, and that's staying ahead in these matchups.
It's all about translating solid laning into real teamfight prowess and carrying for this Starhorn Royal Club mid and top duo. No one will debate the fact that they're very solid laners. They just haven't been able to translate leads into game victories, or necessarily the opposite. So they just really need to power through, realize that they have access to more CS and resources compared to the previous Raising the Puppies days. And wow.
Insect just gets obliterated. Leo switching it on here in the mid lane and just had no idea that he had that damage potential.
Absolutely. The damage potential from the newly bought, needlessly large rod on full display right there.
Yeah, I don't even think it needed to be that large. That is most well named, that item. It's Tail going to try and get some damage onto this bottom side turret, but HYY and Zero are waiting in the wings to try and get some work done there as well.
Very interesting first purchase coming out from Nahia, Warmog's armor. Just itemizing completely for that health. I'm going to trade on the fact that if he has the split-second Mega Nard transition, he's going to have those extra stats coming out from that transition right there. So, and a very interesting choice. We usually would see a Randuin's potentially here, but just because of how much magic and mixed damage there is on the side of Gamtee, they're just kind of hedging their bets and saying, look, Sivir always struggles at killing those frontline tanks. Build that Warmogs, deal with the other threats, and hope Sivir just hasn't got that item advantage as we transition into the mid-game.
And Sivir also not the type of champion to pick up that Blade of the Ruined King as well, so having that flat health, not going to be too much of a problem. Of course, the percent health damage that's going to be coming through from Gamtee is going to be from that twisted advance from Let Me. So going to be absolutely fine. No Leandry is going to be picked up across here either, considering the fact that Leo wants to get as much burst damage as possible. And now Gamtee just really need to start getting some structures on this map. Of course, bleeding turrets, and that's going to be their map advantage as well. So all of their map pressure that they had early on, of course, that is a pink ward that's been there in the top side of the map for quite some time, but they really need to start taking these down and get some map pressure.
Well, the big issue they have here is that we still don't see the Infinity Edge coming out on Tail right here, so he's not really looking to group right now, whereas the mid-game power spike has definitely started for HYY. He already has the Trinity Force and Sorcerer's Shoes, even has the lovely lifesteal on top of that. This is where Starhorn Royal Club understand their power spikes, which is something they've struggled with in the first few games. They're looking to group and push mid.
A lot of damage going down to Zero there as well from Leo. Does mean that ultimate is on cooldown, but Gamtee able to defend this mid lane turret if they can weather the storm coming through. Right of the Arcane coming down. Tail taking a lot of damage, even going to heal here. Make sure that one doesn't kill him. Morellonomicon passive is going to be procced here as well.
You may wonder why he chose to use the ultimate there. It's because Sivir is the main and only wave clear on this team. Once she goes back, there's going to be a free turret for Starhorn Royal Club. Smart play from Korn, and they take down another objective.
Yeah, beautiful play. And I love Chinese Xerath players just using that Rite of the Arcane at all times. Whenever there's the possibility that they might be able to get a kill or get some poke, that ultimate is going to be put on cooldown because, of course, doesn't have a large number next to it when you do actually use it. And
it's always been the mechanics of the AD carries from China that have kind of been praised and raised as the best in the world. It's these Xerath players that are starting to show that, hey, the mid laners aren't too bad either.
That's exactly right, and we saw a whole lot of players from China utilizing that champion to great effect. And that being said, I mean, we're talking about Korn on Xerath. Leo is 3-0-0 now, has his Rabadon's Death Cap completed, and he might be the saving grace here for Gamtee.
But the issue I see here is if you're looking on the minimap, they don't have exclusive vision in any of the high traffic or important areas of the map. So they're not going to be able to take advantage of LeBlanc's strength, which of course is deleting champions who face checker. It's much more difficult to kill someone in open play than it is to get an assassination in a team fight. So we probably want to see a bit more advanced warding. They do have 2 Sightstones available on the team right here. So the use of pink wards, they don't really have enough out on the map. I see 1 out on the map at the moment. Getting another 4 out on the map and taking advantage of this massive LeBlanc is what Gamtee need to do if they want to get back into this game.
We'll see whether they can manage to do that, as we do have the build toward a Cutlass being finished off from HYY, so going to be going straight for that Blade of the Ruined King, which our Chinese Corki players really do love to go for. Top lane turret in the outer ring going to fall down here for Starhorn Royal Club, so getting a tower on the board definitely going to work out in the favor of Gamtee, and they're only 2,000 gold behind, but this is the Dragon just spawning that they really need to prioritize at this stage.
Leo takes a big burst of damage as we see Insect trying to clear out vision on both sides here. Royal Club are very well set up to take this dragon, but you have to feel that Maokai is going to teleport, and they have to engage on this all-important third dragon.
They really do. A lot of damage going to be taken in an AoE, but it's at half health now. Gamtee really need to pull the trigger. There's the teleport coming in now. We'll see whether the twisting advance can come through. Leo actually manages to get into the backline, but Insect secures the dragon. No one dead just left, but Zero is down so low, and Insect picking up kills. Zero is going to fall down, but Cola now, he's massive in that front line. HYY even going to finish off Dangerous Corn. Going to miss that Arcano Pulse. The Mimic is going to die there as well, but not going to get the real LeBlanc, which is the main thing. But now 2 for 1 for Starhorn Royal Club, and they secure the dragon.
The power of Cola's Warmogs and his timing on the transition to Meganar was on full display right there. He was zoning and tanking for a good 5 to 8 seconds, both Tail and Leo, both Sivir and LeBlanc. And if you have 2 damage dealers, one of them fed, one of them with a newly completed Infinity Edge, completely massive, not being able to do any damage to the rest of the team, you've got to win one team fight.
Yeah, and it's beautiful play from Insect as well, picking up a kill and that dragon under so much pressure. We see why this guy is famed for this champion, as we do have the replay.
So we go into the replay here. The teleports both come in here, and it's important to know that Maokai does not go to lockdown Corn. He actually goes down onto the very mobile Corki right here. So the damage comes in, the bursts come in. Very nice characters on top of the 8 but look at Cola. He uses the Mega Nar translation and manages to use the Nar to keep his team tanking so much damage right here. And of course, evasive maneuvers started here for the 3 remaining members.
Yeah, and while he was locking down both of the carries, just the rest of his team destroyed the front line, and there was nothing that Gamtee could do, because once Letme's out of that fight and Danger's gone, they just have to run because they have no way to defend themselves apart from maybe a clutch tidal wave.
Absolutely. Letme diving in so far only to kind of root HYY for a few seconds there. Allowed Korn to free hit with all of his damage. He has the completed Rabadon's death cap right now. And it just didn't feel like the item build that Letme went for there. And with the engage, he didn't get the engage he was looking for. He really needs to focus on that Xerath, force Korn to flash very defensively, try and cut down his DPS, because compared to Cola, Letme just wasn't doing his job in that team fight.
He really wants. Leo going to get snagged here a little bit by the Sonic Wave. Insect not going to get any Lee Syndrome and go in on that one. As we do have the Blade of the Ruined King being finished, as well as the Static Shiv from our AD carries on this map. So starting to power up here are HYY and Tail, but you have to think that HYY, there's a bigger price tag on the 2 items he's managed to pick up. As Insect is going to face check into Leo here, but he does not want to go against 4 members.
If we compare the gold between the 2 AD carries, it's actually quite minimal. Only 400 gold is the advantage for HYY. So the Infinity Edge, Static Shiv, a lot of wave clear on the side of Tail, and he's going to be needed at every station in order to keep these waves, because Xerath and Corki have massive wave clear between the 2 of them, and it's pretty much only Sivir that has that range wave clear.
Oh, just the deletion through here. Zero was there for a second, then he wasn't. And Leo managing to secure that one, and you were talking about the fact that they need to be getting these face checks onto Leo, and that was beautifully done. No Janna.
But that was a very defensive deletion right there. You look at the map, there's so many red wards around the Gamtee jungle, the red side jungle here. There's only limited places for that to happen. So it was very fortunate right there. It rested a lot of pressure. They might even get a structure out of it. So a big win for Gamtee, but they need to start recreating that in more aggressive parts of the map.
Yeah, we're actually going to have Rite of the Arcane coming through just defensively, as Tail going to utilize that to pick up some more mana. Working out quite well for him as... Oh, we've actually got On the Hunt being popped here. There's a twisting advance following HYY there as well after that Valkyrie, but they're deciding they don't want to come through. There's the tidal wave for the disengage, and Starhorn Royal Club flexing their muscles and causing GT to get out.
Absolutely. We saw what happens when you're twisting advance of Valkyrie and Corki. Went far too deep there, and they had to use the Nami to disengage there. And it looks like Royal Club will be able to go in an advanced situation, try and meet this big wave in the top lane, and they might be able to answer that with a turret.
Yep, stealing away a blue buff as well on their way through. Just as an afterthought, it seems, as this inner turret in the top lane going to be under fire. Insect just going to throw out some Sonic Waves, but all of the wave clear coming through from Korn and HYY, and you can see that Trinity Force doing a lot of work getting damage on these towers as Leo's going to come through, throw out a Sigil of Malice, but doesn't have too much he can do here.
Worth noting once again, Cola has a very high rage bar here, so he's always in position to have that Mega Gnar transformation available to a team fight. That is something you cannot take for granted on a champion like Gnar, which we've seen played to varying levels. Cola's one of the best.
He certainly is. It is going to be depleting just a little bit as he does just hang around doing nothing, but all Royal Club coming over. There's the Sonic Wave going to land. Tail, though, you're dead. Beautiful play, and Royal Club just pulling the trigger.
The vision advantage is starting to pay huge dividends. The only true wave clear from Gamtee is deleted right here. And structures are going to start to fall. They're going to start to multiply. And this game is snowballing out of control for Gamtee.
Gamtee just milling about. You can see the fact that the kills are actually even at this stage. But Royal Club just with so much control of this map.
Yeah, so much poke coming in down. See, very nice, smooth moves from Insect. They're going to pick up this turret, no question right here. And Leo's in trouble.
Yeah, Korn taking a lot of damage, though. Vengeful Maelstrom going to help keep him alive just a little bit if he does wait around in that one. But Let Me taking so much damage. We've got the Mega Gnar transformation coming through here as well. I wonder whether they're going to use that to try and get a little bit of extra pressure on this inhibitor turret. But no, they're going to back away, take the victory. They got the inner turret that they wanted, and that's going to be 5 outer ring turrets for Starhorn Royal Club to the 3 here for Gamtee.
4 members going back with over 1,000 gold, 2 over 1,500. Importantly, the 2 carries for Starhorn Royal Club going back and having plenty to spend. And yes, you look at the sideways here, actually pushing out very well for Gamtee in the bottom lane, which is the one boon they have right there. They kind of lost the minimum. They were never going to be able to keep that inner turret up once Sivir fell. But right now, they're just worried about losing another dragon, because 3 is one thing, but once you get 4, the time clock really starts, because the 5th dragon has so often been the game ender in the LPL.
Yeah, but this might be the beginning of Gamtee's ability to get back through into this game, because we were talking about the fact that they want to wait until these late game rotations, wait for the grouping. They do manage to secure that first dragon. Chain not going to land on an Insect there with a nice safeguard as the flash from Synchro going to come through, tries to disengage there as the Monsoon comes down as well. Insect finds his way right in amongst it. The Gnar not going to get any stuns here. The wallop onto Let Me, though. He's quite tanky. Leo waiting for cooldowns. HYY gets taken out of the fight. Is going to be exchanged for Let Me, though. Tail going down solo. Insect just flies through for the kill. Leo waiting around to the side, gets his 2nd kill of this fight, but I'm not sure he really has the smooth moves for this one as the shutdown finally for Insect.
A super messy fight from both teams coming down there, and you saw the difference between a massive Gnar ultimate and one of the more small ones. He only managed to get Maokai, was able to displace him slightly, but they still were able to clean up that team fight. 3 kills for 2 is a nice advantage for them, but you're right. We're talking about Gamtee and their mid to late game rotations. Picking up that first dragon is a very important part of that, and whether they can translate that into a bit more control around objectives is a question we have to answer.
Yeah, we'll see whether it's going to work out for Gamtee here as well, because of course those 6% extra stats at 30 minutes into this game may be worth more than the 300 gold across the team that they did lose when losing that team fight. And of course, Leo managing to pick up a lot more money, now has that Void Staff in his back pocket as well. So you can imagine that deletion that you've been mentioning could be coming through even easier now. And we saw it probably doesn't need to be any easier than it currently is.
Absolutely. That 6% is such a deceptive stat, because you look down, 5k gold is a decent lead for Starhorn Royal Club, but 6% more damage for a 3-item AD carry, for a 3-item AP carry. It's considerable damage.
It really is. That pink ward going to survive for 1 second until it's taken out there by the range of 0. And back ping's going to come through into this mid side of the map. So Royal Club taking their foot off the pressure just a little bit, as Cole is going to be split pushing here on the bottom side. Does have his teleport available. It's just transformed into Mega Gnar. His Insect just going to be dancing around the mid side, and they've got a bit of a 1-3-1 situation going on with HYY, just trying to get that slow push happening there on the top side so that they can really start to pressure this map. And you can imagine Starhorn Royal Club wanting to go tutorial style, and their next focus will most likely be on that bottom side.
There is some very good defensive wards around Baron, which of course is always a consideration when you have an aggressive jungler like Lee Sin and of course Insect on the team. They're not able to completely clear vision right here. It's probably going to be a stretch to be able to take down this Baron, just because Starhorn Royal Club of Gamtee are well aware of what's happening here. See Korn around the back here. Korn's looking very strong himself. In fact, both AP carries, very different flavor between the two. We have a single target focused LeBlanc, and of course the long range poking Xerath available here. Who took the blue buff? I think it was HYY.
Korn has one, so does HYY, and I think Korn picked his one up before, so I think you're correct there.
Okay.
And Mega Nara in the bottom lane is going to be getting a lot of damage on this inner turret. As you can see, just headbutting that one. More than happy to smack his face into it, but they have decided to go for the engage. The Monsoon really displacing Let Me right into the backside of this one. Danger trying to get in. Leo's here as well. Throws out a Sigil of Malice for a lot of damage, but they're turning this one around. Let Me taking a lot of damage. There's right of the Arcane. Let Me falls down, and Cola wants to build some rage. Wants to try and get that Mega Nara to come in. Tail is going to take auto attack after auto attack here, and a nice boomerang going to follow Cola there as well. But it is so far a 1-for-0 in favor of Starhorn Royal Club.
The disengage on display from Starhorn Royal Club was beautiful there. I thought for sure that Malka was going to be able to dictate that fight, but it was so well disengaged by Janna and just the whole team moving back until they realized that with focus fire they could actually take down this tanky Maokai for all his armor. Not a lot of health or magic resist built or completed on that champion just yet. Nice pickup by Starhorn Royal Club. They win that little engage.
Yeah, really patient play as well, making sure that they kite back, and then know exactly when to go.
Absolutely. So they're still going to be pressuring around Baron here. That's still the big objective. It's still over 2 minutes or so until the next Baron right here. Looking down the items, though, a bit of magic resist finished on Corki, just to give him a chance to avoid the deletion coming out from LeBlanc.
Yeah, Intelligent Spectre's Cow purchase here. Probably doesn't need too much extra damage with the 3 items that he already has. Of course, Last Whisper finished off as well. 4-1 and 7. Really great score coming through from HYY. Sort of the sub for his team, filling in for Name, trying to do the best he can for Starhorn Royal Club. And this game, definitely doing some work.
All right, we still see more vision clearing coming out around the Baron here. They might actually start engaging on it here. HYY's not focusing out, but they're going for it now. The pings have come down from Gamtee, but they're not really in position to contest just yet.
Yeah, this Blade of the Ruin King on HYY doing work, taking down this neutral objective, and you can see it's down to about 1,000 health. It's been taken, and Royal Club with a beautiful rotational play. Aqua Prison's going to land. That's an incredibly late teleport. The Tidal Wave catches Cola. They might be able to get rid of the Nut, and they have. A lot of engaged potential now gone for Royal Club, but it seems to me like they're going to be able to get out of this one. The empowered recalls coming through and the pings onto the mid lane inner turret from Gamtee. They want to get something from this kill.
A single trade for a Baron, though, is so hard to capitalize on, especially with the 2015 changes and this quick Baron recalls coming in here. They're already in position to contest right here, but they do not have their super tanky front line. Will they be able to keep this turret up?
Yeah, they're not going to be able to. Tail does finish that one off, as we have the empowered melee creeps. Just so much health on these guys.
Yeah, pushing against the Baron up creeps is just not something that's really an option for Gamtee right here. They're going to have to reset. They have a nice little chunk of gold. I mean, look at how many kills this LeBlanc has. 7, 1, and 0 on LeBlanc as Leo right here. It's still that vision control. They're starting to get it. You do see some very smart pink wards down on the map for Gamtee, but they need to capitalize on that. And it's going to be so much more difficult when they have a low wave clear comp against a Baroned up Starhorn Royal Club.
Yeah, and Kohler actually home guarding towards this dragon here as well. Starhorn Royal Club looking to pick up their 4th now of the game. They have been scrying orbed out, but that's going to be Insect. Finger on the pulse as far as that smite's concerned. Danger actually going over there a little bit late in order to try and pick that one up, and it is forced to flash back over that wall, and Gamtee looked to be falling apart at the 35-minute mark.
And it's that 6-minute timer until the next dragon comes up. That really is the time clock for Gamtee in this game. They need to really focus on their mid to late game shot calling that they're known for, and pick up some objectives and some momentum in this game, because otherwise that time clock is going to close with the 5th dragon, and it'll be very difficult for Gamtee to get back into the game.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate because their sidewave manipulation has been quite fantastic towards the later stage of this game, but they haven't been able to capitalize. You can see the slow pushes were really working in the top and bottom sides, but Royal Club just know exactly when to engage so that they can avoid having to deal with that in a negative fashion.
And it's that kind of sheer single target focus of the damage coming out from Gamtee right here. I mean, Siva has a little bit of AoE coming out with the Ricochet, but of course, LeBlanc is all about single target damage, about single target deletion. She has the items to do that, but if they're not able to get these picks, HYY takes a lot of damage.
Leo might be able to get the kill here. Has to land the chains, but it's going to be Tail with a beautiful static shiv crit to pick up the AD carry on the side of Royal Club, and we'll see whether Gamtee can capitalize off this one. Insec on the complete other side of the map, and there is good vision here for Gamtee as well, so might be able to get another turret pickup. And what was HYY doing there?
It was an excellent rotation coming out from Gamtee, but I agree. HYY had no reason to be in his own jungle right there.
Oh, there's the alley-oop coming through from Danger. The tidal wave as well hits a couple of members. Nice bounce from Kohler, going to get him out of danger. No pun intended, as this inner turret is going to fall down. Insec waiting off to the side. We'll see whether he can get a decent kick here, but not going to follow through with that Sonic Wave, and Tail going to escape here as well. So now 5-5 the turrets. Gamtee evening that one up as Tail going to get snagged yet again. A bit of a magnet for those Qs.
I mean, the turret score is one thing. They really need to translate that into focusing and doubling down on their minion wave control so that they can be in the absolute best position to capitalize on trying to counter this 5th dragon. The 5th dragon is a massive win condition that Riot has added to League of Legends this season, and it's something that Gamtee cannot afford to surrender.
They certainly can't. Tail does have quite a lot of damage here, as we saw on display with that kill onto HYY, so almost has that Bloodthirster, almost at this 4-item spike here for Sivir. Of course, doesn't really want to be too close to that front line with Kohler and Insect just doing so much work for their teams. And this bottom lane looking huge as Let Me is going to come down and try and deal with it.
It's interesting that looking down the items, there is a significant tanking advantage to Kohler in these teamfights. Usually it's Maokai that you're going to give.
And look at this rotational play from Royal Club. They're going to be able to take this inhibitor turret.
Yeah, Gamtee are in disarray here. They're in no position to counter this. Dangers might even just give his life for free.
Yep, he's just dead. There's no more to say. The inhibitor going to go down as well, and Kohler, nice transformation with the bounce at the same time, and that inhibitor falls down for free. And Gamtee, you can't be making mistakes like this at this level of play. For
all their aggressive wards, they had limited defensive wards there, and just sheer out-rotation coming out from Starhorn Royal Club. For all their management of side waves, a very large strategic error coming out there for Gamtee.
Yeah, very unfortunate. And Royal Club going to transition this one into the bottom side of the map as well, and going to be able to transition to Baron even easier if they do manage to break through here, as Let Me gets knocked up into the air by that Howling Gale. Tail taking a third of his health from that one, but Boomerang Blades coming across the top. Boomerang's on both sides of this one, but Tail, look, he just keeps getting hit by these skill shots that are just so hard to avoid because they come in so fast.
Well, he's so reliant. Gamtee are so reliant on Sivir's wave clear here to be able to stay in these fights, to keep their structures up, that Tail has to get within 500 or less range to wave clear, and is getting punished for that predictability. They know Sivir's going to walk up to these waves, and they punish Tail every time he does.
Certainly do, knowing exactly what he has to be doing in these fights. As Let Me, Danger, and Tail, all three going to try and clear out this one wave, but only losing one inhibitor, but Starhorn Royal Club definitely playing really, really well in this late game stage.
It's just so much vision, the creep movement, everything is really in the advantage of Starhorn Royal Club, and that's all with a minute and a half until the 5th dragon here. You think the 5th dragon is going to be the go button for Starhorn Royal Club. They'll be diving turrets, they'll be looking for the victor if they can pick that up, and it's so hard to counter that when you have so little wave clear on the Gamtee side, and you just haven't been able to get the defensive wards around the base that you want. That out-rotation has massive implications for 1 minute's time.
And Royal Club may have even set Gamtee up to have to make a lose-lose decision here, where they're going to get their 2nd dragon, but they may have to exchange it for a Baron here if Royal Club get there in time, because they've got so much Baron damage, what with that Hyper Proc, and of course the Blade of the Ruined King coming through, and Xerath with a lot of damage as well.
It was the OMG Vici game where we saw this lose-lose decision here, because the question is, do you go for that 5th dragon, or do you let the enemy team take Baron? In that game, the 5th dragon came up trumps. We're still, of course, waiting for a larger sample size, but I would expect Starhorn Royal Club to really focus on picking up the dragon here.
Yeah, and all it's going to be really is denial of that 5th dragon if that's where Gamtee do want to go. So if Starhorn Royal Club do force them into that decision, things are not going to be looking great here for Gamtee, as they're going to try and clear out this wave of super creeps. Thankfully, Tail now with 4 items going to be doing so much damage to anything that comes his way.
Watch that rage meter on now. It's about 50% right here. So, of course, they're looking for a fight. 10 seconds to Dragon. Baron's already respawned right here. I think the team that makes the decisive move right here is going to be the one that wins the game. Even if Gamtee can't finish it from that decisive mood, it's going to be a massive, massive change in how this game progresses.
Yeah, Cola has actually transformed here as well. On the hunt, actually gets popped before it's gone. He's getting deleted, though. It's a beautiful now. Look at the amount of damage, and in the backline, Tails getting singled out. Leo as well. He's going to die, and this is just a stomp from Royal Club. That was ridiculously bad timing on that engage.
Absolutely. It was a really bad engage right there, and they're kind of feeling the pressure of having no AoE damage whatsoever right there. Leo tried to do her best. She was getting in melee range to get the mimicked deceive right out there, but wasn't able to do anything. Fell down, and this is going to be the win for Starhorn Royal Club.
Yeah, they get to go straight up the mid lane here as well, and may not even need to clear out these creeps if they can tank it up, but beautifully well played. And Cola, you can't let him get nah. He's just so good on this champion. As we have the Nexus turrets falling, the Nexus going to follow as well, and Royal Club getting their 3rd win of the LPL and looking fantastic as they do so.
And the important thing to note there, Atlas, is it was a decisive, clean win for Starhorn Royal Club. They've really fallen apart in the last 4 games, and it was good to see them get it back together. And importantly, Insec, I thought, led his team with very decisive shot calling, good jungle movements. That's the Starhorn Royal Club we want to see.
Yeah, it was beautiful, and we were talking about how important momentum is as well in League of Legends, as we have a replay to show you guys. So let's just see how Royal Club managed to win this game in this beautiful fight.
So this is the last big team fight right here. Notice Kohler at the front. He has a full rage where he's actually going to transform before the team fight starts. And Gamtee are like, all right, you're in the front. They're going to use the go button here. They're going to try and DPS down Kohler, who's so tanky. Takes a lot of damage, but the massive Nara ultimate just displaces the whole team right here. Let Me in the middle is not as tanky as he thinks he is. And it doesn't even matter that Korn doesn't really have any clear targets to fire on. He just fires in the general direction. Everyone on Gamtee dies. And that was the victory for Starhorn Royal Club.
It almost looked too easy here for Starhorn Royal Club, as Korn basically just waved his mouse around and pressed all his buttons and got a whole lot of things done. And it was beautiful to see. I mean, I just want to talk about constantly the fact that Kohler should never get Nah, but it just, no one seems to listen.
Well, we saw Kohler on that Aurelia in an earlier game, went 5-1-1 in lane, couldn't translate that into having a big impact in team fights, but Nah's all about the team fights. Even if you just go even, you build enough tank items, you get that ultimate down like we saw in that decisive last team fight, and you're going to win the game.
You certainly are, but we are going to have Game 2 coming up very shortly, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see whether Gamtee can make it their second 1-1 or whether it's going to be the run-through for Starhorn Royal Club.